Hey everyone, you know that feeling of frustration with politics, right? That sense that things are just stuck. And the solution you hear all the time is pretty simple. Get rid of the old guard, bring in some new blood. But today, we're going to dig into a really fascinating idea that says, hold on, it's not that simple. In fact, that kind of thinking could be dangerous.
This idea of changing the water is everywhere. Let's just sweep out all the politicians who've been around forever and replace them with a fresh new generation. And yeah, on the surface, that sounds great. It sounds like progress. But is that really the solution? And this is where our source for today throws up a major red flag. It calls this a dangerous thought. Why? Because if we're just demanding change for the sake of change, without a super clear standard for why the old guard is failing and what the new guard has to do differently, well, we might just be swapping one set of problems for another. So before we can even start talking about a cure, we have to get the diagnosis right. It's just not enough to point fingers and say, you're fired. We have to dig deeper and really understand the fundamental reason the whole system feels like it's grinding to a halt. And this quote from the source really nails it. The problem isn't just about a few bad apples we need to toss out. The argument here is that the dysfunction is baked right into the system itself. So the answer has to come from figuring out precisely what's gone wrong on the inside.
So here it is, the big pivot. The problem isn't old versus new. It's not about experience versus inexperience. The true dividing line, the one that really, really matters, is this constant battle that every single politician faces. The conflict between their public duty and their own private interests.
And this leads us to the core idea we're exploring today. It's a framework for how we can evaluate any politician, just by asking one simple question. Are their actions mostly public-minded, or are they self-serving? In other words, are they acting like a public servant, or just a private person who happens to hold public office?
So first, let's define the ideal. The source, which draws on some Korean political thinking, calls this public action. This is anything a leader does for the good of everyone. Their focus is squarely on the people they represent, the health of the nation, and the honor that comes with doing the right thing. This is the gold standard.
And then you've got the other side of the coin, private action. This is what happens when personal stuff, like your family, your bank account, your connections, starts to take priority over your duty to the public. And according to this analysis, this is the root cause of all the political decay we see. And you can see the split so clearly right here. The politician acting as a private person puts their family before the people, their personal wealth before the nation's well-being, their own religious beliefs before a shared public honor, and their personal network of connections, that comes before genuine public service. It's a choice they make every single day. Okay, so if that's the problem, what's the solution? This is where this whole idea gets really practical and honestly pretty cool. The source proposes a new standard for judging our politicians, not as a simple pass-fail test, but on a kind of sliding scale based on how much power they have. Think of it like a ladder of public service. When you're a newcomer, you're on the first rung. We expect you to be learning how to let go of that private focus. But if you're a senior, established politician, you need to be way higher up that ladder, having already proven your commitment. And a top leader, they have to be at the very, very top. And here's what that looks like in numbers. For a newcomer, the expectation is that you're at least 30% public-minded. For a senior politician, though, that jumps way up to 70%. And for a top leader, the president, the standard is absolute, 100%. Let's talk about that 70% mark. For a seasoned leader, someone who's been around, the idea is that more than 2/3 of everything they do and think about has to be for the public good. At this stage in their career, there's just not much room left for putting themselves first. They should have already made that choice. But for the highest offices, like the presidency, the standard is totally different. It's 100%. No exceptions, no wiggle room. It demands a complete and total sacrifice of the private self to become a true public servant. And to show just how absolute this commitment has to be, the source uses this incredibly powerful, maybe even a little shocking line. It's a statement that's really designed to make you stop and think about what that level of public service actually demands. Now, it is so important to understand the nuance here. This is not a call for a leader to abandon their faith. Not at all. The point is that a president can't let their personal beliefs get in the way of serving every single citizen. They have to be able to truly embrace and serve all people equally, no matter what they believe. So how do we actually use this? Well, this final part is all about turning this interesting idea into a real practical tool for all of us. And, a direct challenge to anyone who wants to be in charge. Here's your takeaway. This is the new checklist. The next time you're looking at a politician, ask these questions. It completely shifts the conversation away from labels like old or new and gets right to the heart of what matters. How committed are they really to serving the public?
And here's the kicker for any of those new political challengers. It's super easy to stay on the sidelines and criticize the people in power, but that's not enough. According to this framework, they have to prove to all of us they are holding themselves to this higher standard of public service from day one. This quote just cuts through all the noise, doesn't it? It's the ultimate question for anyone who wants to lead. Is your ambition really about a deep desire to serve the people, or is it just about wanting the power and status that comes with the job?
And that's where we'll leave it. It's pretty clear that just swapping out faces isn't a real solution. The question this framework leaves us with is a big one. It's not just about whether the old guard has failed this test of public service, but whether the new generation of leaders is even studying for it. Thanks for watching.